today or die.
Hello and welcome. I am so glad you are joining me today. Today, you will hear the story of one powerhouse of a woman, and I do mean powerhouse. She is the true definition of an entrepreneur, having built a thriving business literally from the ground up. This is the Empowered Career Woman podcast, broadcast from the Whitfield Media Group studios in Chattanooga, Tennessee. The Empowered Career Woman is proudly presented by Medicare Misty. Medicare Misty is a real person who can help answer your Medicare questions. Get real help from her team at MedicareMisty.com. I'm your host, Lisa McCluskey, and now let's podcast. Today, as I mentioned, I am pleased to be joined by Misty Bolt. She is an insurance broker whose brand, Medicare Misty, is synonymous with Medicare. She's an author, an in-demand speaker. She has her own cooking show, talk show, magazine, radio show. She even has a bus. She is a true marketing innovator. Welcome, Misty.
Hi. Thank you, Lisa. It's a great introduction.
I am so glad you were able to carve out some time to come here today because your story is just an incredible story. And I think the women listening today are really going to enjoy hearing from you.
Well, and I hope it inspires them. You know, a lot of people say, you know, sometimes you share your story and you're wanting sympathy, and I'm not really wanting sympathy. I'm wanting to power someone that may be going through the same thing and realize it's not where you start, but where you end.
That's absolutely right. And there are many twists and turns to a career. And you know, being able to share your story just says, keep going.
Yes.
Keep going.
Yeah.
So,
And it's like Rocky, my favorite saying, where he says, nothing's going to hit you harder than life.
that's right. Yeah.
But it's not about how hard you get. It's about how many times you get hit and you keep getting up
Just keep getting up.
every time.
All right, so let's start. Let's start.
Okay.
Dive in and start at the beginning.
All right.
Let's talk about where you went to school and your majors.
Okay, so are we talking elementary or college?
Let's talk college.
College, okay. So here, Chattanooga, Tennessee, I went to University of Tennessee in Chattanooga, did 4 years, got a psychology degree, changed my major, because who knows what they want to be at 18. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Right, yes.
And I wanted something easy. School was really not my forte. I grew up inner city. Even though I love learning now, it was very hard for me back then. So I would really want to do something, which is everybody. Where can I go make money and have fun? So I have a psychology major now, but I was doing criminal justice before. And I worked at Cumberland Psychiatric Hospital when I graduated. My parents said if I went to college, I would be rich. I made $15,000 a year when I graduated college.
Wow, that is hardly rich. I do have to say, since I've been doing these interviews with women, it's remarkable the number of business women who start in psychology or social work backgrounds, and they go on to be a whole different career, very successful. But somehow it seems as though that psychology background helps them as they understand people better and they understand their motivations and they can relate to people. So that I think it just struck me as such a common theme now that I've been doing these interviews.
Well, and I think when we get in that field, you know, the counselor didn't tell me that there wasn't going to be any money in that field unless you had your master's and you did your own business. And then I realized, do I want to hear all that stuff all day long? It's like, it kind of takes you. And I've got a couple of people that, you know, friends that stayed in that field and they have their own business. And there's times that they're just like, I'm just exhausted from all the hurt and pain that's out there.
Mentally exhausting. So how long were you in that field?
So I did it for a year, and I was at Cumberland Psychiatric Pediatric Ward.
Oh,
and
gosh.
it was
That would be
heartbreaking. I wanted to take every single one of those kids home. I couldn't take it anymore. I was crying every day. I asked the nurse how she did this every day, and they ended up closing that center. But a friend of mine that didn't finish college, she was like, Misty, you can do anything with the degree. You know, nothing against counselors. This was 20 years ago, but there's no guidance. And, my parents were 16. They didn't finish high school. I didn't know what to do. I just know they said, go to college and you're going to be rich. And it was crazy. I wasn't even applying for jobs. I just thought you're going to go in this database and all these people are going to call you because you have this degree. And I mean, there was no help of kind of like with Medicare. You retire all these years, your corporation is making these decisions. You go out, it's time to retire, have your golden years, and you're like, what do I do now?
Right.
There's no step-by-step process to help these kids on what's my next move. How am I going to support myself? And it's kind of like kids in foster care. I just found out recently that after 18, they're out on the streets. I'm thinking, no, we should have set them up to be able to, be successful go to college, 18 to 22. And then from 22 on, let's get a career. How do you apply for a career? There was no class on that. And so my best friend was like, hey, go to this lady that I went to when they really had recruiting agencies where you went down and they actually sat down, did an application on what you would be good at, what your degree was, and they would give you options to go out to these jobs. And that was my first, I went with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and they had taught me everything about business. And I suggest anybody listening, that is a phenomenal industry. It taught me everything how to build a business, from the payroll, from building sales, from leadership, recruiting, marketing, and you work your tail off. You work, 6 days a week, 70 hours a week, but it is phenomenal business. And doing that allowed me to get recruited after I left Enterprise because they knew what Enterprise Rent-A-Car taught them. But I remember when the lady sent me the tape, VH back then.
And now we're dating ourselves,
yes,
right?
a little bit. And she said, watch this tape. And I'm like, I didn't go to college to work for no rental car company. And I watched it and I said, I absolutely loved it. And the money that you make, because you get a percentage, once you move up the level of what your branch makes. But it teaches you how to build your branch. And, you see so many businesses, only 8% people make it in business. 8%. So even working here for a year or 2 years could have saved your business, So I highly recommend anybody out there listening, what do I do? It's just a key way to start on how to learn how to operate and run a business.
For a business that has a really good training ground, it's
Yeah.
going to teach you. And it's almost, is Enterprise a franchise where each franchisee had their own? Oh,
Well, actually, I think there's one owner and there were just branch managers.
Okay.
And, yeah. And I don't know, that's been 20 years ago, so I don't know if it's still like that. But
no, but I had heard before one of the individuals that I had hired to work for me had come up through the Enterprise program. And as you said, there was just such a really strong knowledge base of business and how to market and how to grow, get customer acquisition.
Yeah.
So it seems like really great advice.
And then even to sell the cars, how his business mind on we're going to rent them and then we're going to sell them and we're going to buy new ones. I mean, it was just, I think it's helped with my marketing to be able to learn how to take, like a business recently in Hickson closed down. It just breaks my heart. And I'm thinking, if you're not selling what your building is there for, use your building to sell something else. Use it for an event. Use it for B&I. Use it for, it's just a lot of people want to own a business, but they don't have all the tools that they need, to do that.
Right.
And I didn't have all the tools.
All the tools and all the training, really the training from the ground up that you had.
Yeah.
So how long were you with Enterprise?
I was with them from 98 to 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I went to Unum, and that's where I got my health license. Unum got my health license, and I will tell you, nothing that I am proud of, but anybody out there struggling because of, being, not that inner city school was bad, but I didn't do good in school. It took me 3 times to get my license. So it's kind of another thing. Just think if I would have given up after 1 time, 2 times.
So what attracted you to insurance from Enterprise?
Jesus, I didn't want that. I wanted pharmaceutical.
Oh,
I applied for pharmaceutical, wanted it. All my friends were in pharmaceutical, and nobody gave me the chance.
Okay.
They kept saying you didn't have any outside sales skills. Well, I know. Well, how do you get them? If you're not going to give me a chance. But I'll tell you, Lisa, I cannot pronounce half of those drugs now still in Medicare, trying to pronounce them. So it's probably a good thing that I wasn't selling a drug that I couldn't pronounce.
Well, not only that, but there were so many changes in the pharmaceutical industry, and a lot of those salespeople lost their jobs.
Yeah.
And I think there'll probably be more ahead as they're looking at pharmaceuticals being able to advertise or not.
Yeah.
So it's probably a good thing.
Yes.
That was another thing where God was watching out for you.
He saw the future.
He saw the future and directed you to the right path.
Yeah.
So you went to Unum and you got your health license. Is that when you first started selling insurance products?
Well, yes, it was disability. So
Okay.
I helped the broker. I was in a call center at Unum. I helped the broker sell the long-term care and insurance. I'd write them a quote and tell them, how to sell it. And then they would go sell it. And I did that from 2000 till 2005. And in 2004, our department was letting us know, hey, this department's probably going to dwindle. Okay. We're going to get out of the long-term care business. Yeah. And they said, you might want to look. So 6 of us looked and went to implementation. And we were there for 7 or 8 months. And then they hired a consultant to come in to tell the implementation department that this person is doing with this person, just a different product. You could save money by making them do both. They're not busy all day. So all 6 of us lost our job.
Oh.
And that's where I started interviewing for pharmaceutical again. And this lady came in and said, hey, do you want to do Medicare? And I said, what is Medicare? I had no idea.
You've come a long way, baby.
Yes. Yeah, from not knowing or even knowing how to spell it.
Right. Yeah. So you did Medicare for Unum, is that, or no?
No, HealthSpring,
okay,
which is now Cigna.
Yes.
Yeah. And then a year later, after being top agent at HealthSpring, Humana came and said, hey, they're not paying you enough, and they weren't. And so I went with Humana, worked here, and then worked my way up to sales manager, and then moved to get the sales manager position. And then in 2009, Blue Cross Blue Shield offered me a position to come home to be their first outside sales rep. And then in 2011, healthcare reform was built, and they did the same thing that Unum did. They took the individual department of insurance and the Medicare department and merged it together. And when we heard the talk, we're like, oh, well, we're fine because, government regulated. They're not going to want to get rid of us because of all the rules. Wrong. That's who they got rid of, our whole department. And it was crazy. We come in and they just laid a pink packet down, and we're still having no clue, because it's pink, so it's cute. And they were like, you all have to leave now, and here's your severance, and we'll have your stuff at the office. We could even go back in. And it was crazy because at Unum, I cried. At Blue Cross, I had a peace because I had been doing with HealthSpring, which is now Cigna, Humana, and then now Blue Cross Blue Shield. I worked captive. I was a employee for them. And I had a peace. I was ready to be a broker, scared because I lost my salary. I lost my credit card to do all these events I was doing. I lost my insurance and my 401k. Scared on that end, but a peace, which had to be Jesus, of, I think I can do this.
Well, you had a number of years of training to prepare for it.
Actually, yeah.
You had become an expert in the topic.
Right. And there wasn't anybody in the field like there is now.
Yeah. And so that was the genesis of you starting your own business.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Medicare Misty was born.
Medicare Misty was born.
Fantastic. So tell us about your business model. How does it work?
So I have 50 agents all over. My goal is to have them in all 50 states, take Medicare Misty nationwide. And right now, I don't recruit, just the name kind of does it itself. But the model is everybody, we have 4 offices working on the 5th office where they can come to us. I used to come to everybody because I didn't have an office. I didn't have the money, or I would use Panera or Starbucks. And I wanted offices, one for the agents and one for the clients to have somewhere to stop into. And they all do basically Medicare health insurance that isn't Medicare. So there's usually a spouse that's not 65. Or an employer called me today and said, hey, our family insurance is killing us. We're self-employed. Can you help us? And group insurance, 2 of them were on Medicare, and they wanted to see if they could do, let us go on Medicare, and can our other people go on an individual insurance. So we do also long-term care, and we do life insurance, but our main focus is health insurance. That's what I built the brand on, and that's really kind of our bread and butter. We don't advertise the other stuff. And the agents, I teach them basically like Enterprise Rent-A-Car taught me on how to build a business.
Okay.
Because they, when you're an employee, you want to be a business owner. You think you do, and you think you know what it's like, but until you get in there and you're realizing, you're commission only for the first year independently. And then the second year, every client that you keep, you get paid over again, So, being that, it's a residual income that is unlimited. So as long as the client stays with you until death, you're paid on that client over and over and over again. And so I help them how to do that, how to keep the retention, how to keep that client, let them know who you are. Because I've had several people like, who's your car insurance agent? Oh, I don't know.
Until you have an accident, then you contact
them.
Right.
Yes. You got the number on the back of your car.
Right.
Yeah. But even agents, when they come in, who's your Medicare agent? I don't know. I want to make sure that they know who we are. So I teach them retention, birthday cards, Christmas cards. If a spouse dies, a wind chime, some kind of gift to say, I'm sorry about your loss. Thank you for entrusting us with your insurance. If anything you need, we're here for you. So little things like that to basically keep that base so that, you can keep working and that base can help support you, do events and sponsor things and that you need money, get little trinkets with your name on it. I love trinkets. I love those little giveaway swag.
It's really relationship.
Yeah.
You built a business on relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very smart. So when you were first starting, how did you run into a period where it was really a hard time and you knew you just had to keep going? Was there a time where you had to pivot and maybe you were going one direction and like you said, you were working on at a Panera or a Starbucks, and what made you make that decision of, no, I need to have a hard office to go into?
When I started getting a team, I wanted, and a church had given me, my first office was $300.
Oh.
And it was just a little room. And what's cute, one day I always look back, one day this will be a museum. Because I had just literally this little box, smaller than the room that we're in. And it was actually the front door to the office. So it's like you're here and, you can't go anywhere. But, and then eventually the church left because they gave me that office for $300. And then I eventually took over one other space and then the conference room. And then we knocked a wall out and the agents did their own offices on the right side of it. And then now on the left side where the church was. So now we have all 3 spaces.
Okay.
But I started in that little thing because I drove the same vehicle for 15 years. I mean, it was pretty bad, but I wanted to put all my money into my business. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't understand that. It's kind of like with NFL football players, with any, MLB. When you don't have any money and you haven't been taught to use that money to work for you, like sneakers or perfume or, any of that stuff, to keep the money working for you, you spend it on things you've always dreamed about.
Right.
Lamborghinis, big mansions. I'm still in the same house I raised my son in because I'm always scared, like COVID, out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. That's a big pivot time. Oh my goodness, we do events for leads. We can't do events anymore. We can't go to people. But I can't thank God enough and my clients that before that happened, I had a brand that was still working because Medicare still said, if you're 65 and you lost your job, you still got to get Medicare. You're going to be penalized.
Oh.
So it didn't stop for them, but luckily, not just for me, but for the people in the field that were losing their jobs, they had someone they knew they could reach out to locally and help them through this. Oh my goodness, I've lost my job, my insurance. What is Medicare going to cost? Can I afford it? Am I eligible for it? So COVID was the best year ever, but panicked me because I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? And not only for me, my new agents that didn't have a residual base. How am I going to make it for them?
So how did you transition from being so personal, face-to-face and events?
All TV and radio.
Okay.
Yeah. I went straight and put all the money in TV and radio where everybody was. They were
That's
either
right.
outside.
Everybody was home.
They were home or outside in the garden or around a radio, around a TV. And I just amped it up, which changed all of our lives. And nobody went bankrupt during that time when a lot of people were losing everything, homes, jobs.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So during this time you were building your business, you were also raising your son.
Yeah.
So how did you juggle the personal life and the business life? And
Lisa, I'm still horrible at it.
okay.
I am a workaholic, and I know it kills my husband, it kills my son, because they are the most laid back, like what Sean said earlier. They're just the most laid back dudes.
Yeah.
And I just, because I come from nothing, I want to leave not just a legacy for my son, but for legacies for children like me that just really wanted someone to come around and say, hey, I got you. Let me help you get here. Let me help you do this. What Rocky says, it's a mean world. It's insane mean. And there's so many, I think they say about graves, a lot of dreams are in the grave.
Right.
And I don't want that. And it seems a lot of people talk about it and don't do it because they're scared. And there's so many businesses, so many technology things that have went to a grave that could be truly amazing. And I think trying and failing is better than not trying at all.
Absolutely.
And knowing. And everybody you talk to that's successful, including myself, has failed. If we haven't failed, we haven't done enough. We haven't done anything big enough.
Yeah, I used to work for a police captain who said, if you're not failing 20% of the time, you're not learning.
You're not.
It's like he encouraged you to stretch, reach. And if you fail, you get back up and you'll see what you learned from it.
Exactly.
And a lot of people are afraid of failure. We've kind of created a perfectionist society with everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For participation. Absolutely,
absolutely
not. I told my son, no, don't you take that.
So speaking of your son, do you think that he's going to go into the business with you at some point?
He did. He had brain surgery last year.
Okay.
That was another pivot about broke me. And he said, Mom, I think I had to have brain surgery because he didn't want anything to do with the business. He said, I think I had to have brain surgery so I knew that because he didn't realize what he had in front of him. And plus, it's been his whole life. You know, he's been dragged to events, Medicare, where he's sick of Medicare. But now I think he told me about a couple weeks ago, I don't know if I told you this the last time we saw each other, he said, Mom, I had no idea how hard you worked. Until then, it makes me want to cry because I did it for him. You know, it's hard when one time he came to me and he brought me his whole penny bank and he said, Mom, if you would just take my penny bank and stay home with me, you can have all my money in my penny bank. And I remember that stuck with me.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
I know. And when they don't realize it's so I can put you in private school. It's so I can get you your first car. It's so I can pay for your college. I paid for all of that by myself.
Yeah.
And just to be able to provide that, and when brain surgery, I took off 4 months. I mean, I was in survive. It's the first time I didn't care if my business survived or not. I was just so worried about him, and you try to keep it together. And I think so many times in my life and I know women are like this because we're so emotional, but trying to balance and keep it together, the family, your children, your business, your insanity, to yourself, your friends. It's not easy for anybody, but to juggle all that is just, there needs to be more counselors, for that, because life just throws you things just to say, you can do this.
It does. So you had built a great team though, and I would imagine that's when it really paid off.
Absolutely.
Because they supported you, and you were, I don't want to say carried. I think of being carried as, they always talk about, Jesus will carry you when you can't walk.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
your team was part of that.
Absolutely.
And if you hadn't had invested as much as you did in that team, your business would have fallen apart.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, that is a huge lesson in investing in the people around you that are supporting you.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And Jesus says, one footstep, one prints are in the sand. And it was their prints holding me up, because, I honestly, I couldn't do it, Lisa. I couldn't.
I can't imagine.
I didn't even care. Of everything I worked my tail off for, it was just about his, survival.
How's he doing?
He's great.
Oh,
He's
good.
great. He has to do dim light, and, and he kind of gets a little spark, like more than, he's so calm. But there's a hole in the side of his head. So, and no cyst. So we're very grateful, for the doctors, that helped him through that. And, I'm just glad it's over. That's all I have to say. I'm glad it's over.
Amen. Hopefully that never recurs or
Ever.
happens again, ever. That's amazing.
I woke up this morning, stressing about a plan. Don't know which one to pick, I might need a hand.
Hi, they call me Medicare Misty.
She'll help to make the process smooth as whiskey, don't worry.
We work with several different carriers to make sure your coverage is not limited by a single company. Visit MedicareMisty.com and book your appointment today.
Don't worry, guarantee you'll be happy.
So let me just talk about, in your time in working with various teams, and you've taken note, I want to talk about women entrepreneurs, and what are some of the things that you've noticed that really harms their success? Some traits.
Well, I think the biggest thing, you feel like you're on an island by yourself. A lot of agents tell me that when I, do recruiting in other areas. They're like, I just feel like I'm out here by myself. I go there and I train them, but then I leave. I have to get back to, my office here and my agents here, and then the, offices everywhere else. So I would say invest in a good support. Like you said with my office, I ran my business until 3 years ago by myself. No assistant. Nobody answered. I did it all.
Wow.
How I'm even saying, but it was great timing when I did it, because God prepared me to be able to take care of my son. But I think that's the biggest thing, because I think a lot of women feel lonely, and I wish we would get along better. And like this podcast, as soon as you told me about it, I was like, absolutely. There's so many powerhouses in here. We need to celebrate each other. Your win should be a win for me. My win should be a win, for you. And because there's enough wins. People motivate me where other people get jealous. Like if you do something big, I'm like, oh, I got to think of something bigger, in a good way. Not like I want to be better. The thing is just like it gets my drive going.
Right.
And I wish we did that better, but I would definitely get a support system, pay for assistant. Don't wait like I did. When you wouldn't believe how much money you can make by having someone do the little things that take a bunch of, like even selling. I'm trying not to sell because, that's time. And then I like to spend time with people. I'm a talker and I want to know your story. And that takes a lot of time. It takes away from my agents. It takes away from me building. So I'm trying to step away from that. I want to do like a couple to keep my brain, because I'm getting older. My husband said if I ever had Alzheimer's, I would just talk about Medicare the whole time. Poor guy. So I want to make sure I stay that fresh, but I would definitely do that. Invest in tools, invest in coaching. A lot of people think that's humbug. Coaching someone that has done it, make sure they've done, and you coach with someone that's made $1 million or $1 billion, whatever, to get you to that place. There's a lot of coaches out there that haven't done anything that are coaches. So someone to hold you accountable to your goals, even though it hurts. That stretching part you were talking about,
Right.
Stretch. Get around powerful people. Zig Ziglar said the 5 people you hang around are what you are. So make what you will be, and start if whatever you is on your list to do it. Just do it. Because, like, talk about your divorce podcast that you started.
Right.
You know, I mean, you played over in your head, I'm sure, a trillion times of how this probably wouldn't work. Nobody's going to want to listen. What do I have to offer? What do I know? You're what, number one in out of 50,000 or something crazy like that?
Ranked in the top 10% globally among millions and millions of podcasts.
First year podcasting ever. Now starting this one. You know what I'm saying?
But you know what you say about women doubting themselves. I still doubt myself every day. You know, am I doing the right thing? Hitting the right topics? Am I helping people? I started mine to help people. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And same with this. I saw the same thing when I was in business, is that women, we need to lift each other up and support each other.
Yes.
Your win is my win.
Yes.
And the women I've interviewed so far have such powerful advice. And some of the young people are saying, how do I get a mentor? Where do I find these people? And they're out there. They want to help other people.
Yeah.
So I want to just make sure that, you know, as a business community of women, that we're supporting and lifting each other up and provide a resource for
And this can be a mentor to them.
Absolutely.
You know, if you can't afford a coach, this podcast right here could change their life.
Yeah.
You
A
know?
coach will help you see blind spots.
Yes.
And this podcast, the women are all offering amazing advice because they lived it.
Yeah.
They lived it. So
It's not a book they read.
no, that's right. No, I wish there were. I read a lot of books.
Yeah.
But still took a lot of hard knock lessons, right?
Yes. I got that degree.
Yeah, we got the degree in hard knocks.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I asked you about your balancing your passions. What are some of your passions outside of Medicare and your son and your husband? What other passions do you have?
Jesus, of course.
Yes.
Wouldn't be here without him, wouldn't be alive without him, especially that last year with my son. Also, I love giving back. I wanted that so bad, like you're talking about somebody. I wanted a mentor so bad, like show me how to get out of this, show me, you know, how to not end up like my parents. So I want to give back. I've mentored the Chattanooga Girls Leadership. I mentored 4 8th graders. I just went to the Boys and Girls Club to sign up to be a mentor for them. I have to get my driver's license. I know that sounds hard, but I always do it when I'm in the house, and then my driver's license is downstairs. So, like, I want to give back what God has blessed me with. And one day I was doing a parade. I love parades. I don't know why I love parades, but I love parades. And my bus is always in the parade, and I love throwing candy and waving like, you know, I'm somebody.
That's fun.
It's so fun. And we're not allowed to throw it, so we have to toss it, and we go to the side. And anyway, this girl goes, she's probably 8, 9 years old in Red Bank. She said, "Are you Medicare Misty?" And I was like, how does she know who I am? I'm thinking just seniors know me. And I just wanted to cry. And she's like, "We love you." And I'm like, what? I'm like, how do you know me? Of course, you know, we're driving, we couldn't stop. But to that day, I was like, maybe I am, like you were talking about. Maybe I am making a difference to those girls. I don't know how, because they should be in school when I'm on this or that or 3+U or Let's Chat. They're in school, so I'm thinking, but maybe she was homeschooled. So being able to leave a legacy for that little girl to know she can do it. If she can do it, I can do it, you know? So my passion, I did Dance with the Stars, is giving back and leaving Chattanooga, leaving this earth for my son, my grandkids, any kids, you know, that are going through a hard time, a better place, and give hope. I want to leave with knowing that Misty said I could do it. Mm-hmm. She said I could, no matter what, no matter who told me I couldn't, I can do it.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And that little girl has probably seen you a million times or participated in some things that you've sponsored, because you sponsor everything.
Everything.
There isn't anything. And then a bus goes by with your name on it.
A billboard, you know.
But that's part of the marketing powerhouse that you are.
Yeah. I love it too.
Yeah.
I honestly, if someone said, "What's your dream job?" that would be it, marketing.
Well, it's easy to tell. There's no mystery there.
No.
So do you see exciting opportunities for women in the field of insurance? If I'm sitting back and I think, you know, I want to get into this, other opportunities?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's getting to be more women. A lot of us are fighting for men roles where it's a men world. Yes, there is tons of opportunity. And I tell you, we bring that marketing, we bring that other brain side, the relationship. I was watching a comedian last week and my husband just loved it because we're about to go on a couples retreat. And he goes, you women are like, retreat, woohoo, let's go. And men are like, no, I don't want to go on a retreat. But anything that we can do, to get out there and market and get our name out or build a relationship, we're really, really good at. And so that does very good with insurance or anything that you're building a business. So there's a ton of opportunity, and there's something that has not been done. I believe that truly. Some agents will say, oh, this field is saturated. No, because there's VFW, American Legions, chamber events, PNC, financial advisors that nobody has talked to about Medicare. There are people out there. Not everybody has talked to everybody about Medicare. So it's not saturated. You just got to do what others won't so you can have what others can't.
That needs to be framed.
Yes.
Because that is the difference that you've made.
Yeah.
You've done what others won't.
I went in places that nobody would go into, and places that needed the help, needed the dental, needed the vision, needed the, depends. And I've had agents tell me, I'm not going in there. It wouldn't work at a certain Walmart. And I'm like, when you limit yourself like that, you're limiting your opportunity. You're limiting your income by saying, I'm not going to do that. Now, I don't want anybody to be unsafe, but I believe that when you're doing God's work, you're protected. I mean, things happen because that's just the way the world is. But I worked in bad areas for 9 years and never had. There was one situation when the day shooting started is when I stopped going. And that really when I wanted an office too.
Yeah.
That.
So when you think about marketing proposals, what are some of the considerations you have to saying yes? If somebody is pitching Medicare Misty, or you're considering, should I do this event or should I advertise in this publication, or maybe it's a digital, what are some of the things that you think about?
One, my husband says I need to go to Marketing Anonymous, so I'll say no more. But if I can put my name or brand on it, and it's something I'm going to a women's veteran luncheon today. I love veterans. We wouldn't be here without veterans. My husband's a veteran.
Absolutely.
His whole family's a veteran. What they sacrifice, I see, what my husband goes through at night. I've seen, the stories of just, it never has ended for them. So something that I can change and give back to make a difference in. And I have to get my name out there because I have to build a business. I have to make money to give money,
That's right.
And so anyone that does something, children, when I did Dance with the Stars, feeding hungry children, I was a hungry child. I want to be able to prevent that for them, and it's such an easy model that it isn't going to cost anything. And that's what's hard, because everybody that started a nonprofit is to help somebody. And, I want to help everybody and I can't. And financially, my husband's like, okay, like we're a charity now instead of learning to say no and limiting, what you can do. But somebody told me a long time ago, I don't remember who it was, maybe my pastor, that you can never outgive God.
That's right.
And I tell my husband that, and then we do our taxes, and he's like, really?
we might be getting close.
We might be getting close. Like, stop it. So I think that's hard too, is because I do, and especially when someone has a heart and they just want the support to make their dream come true, to help other people's dream come true, it's hard for me to say no. And like when, I saw this podcast, I reached out to you. I was like, absolutely, Lisa.
I'm so appreciative that you did that.
Because it was truly, this is well needed. We're supporting each other.
We are.
And then I just loved your podcast for divorce. You know how many people come in with me and deal with that. And you think that's something at a younger age. It hits you no matter what age you're at. And it is, I have shared your podcast with any person, whether it be woman or man, that sit in my chair that are just, they're hurt. They're hurting through this process. I'm like, you got to hear this. You got to listen to this. And so doing that is why I wanted to sponsor both of those. Those are two fields that everybody needs to hear. And it's obviously shown by being top 10, in your first year. So kudos to you. Absolutely, Lisa. And any of the charity people that are trying to help dogs, help children, help seniors. Like my goal, I want to do my own profit, and it would either be senior housing, like little tiny homes and events and stuff like that for them. That's my goal, or even abused children. It's just there's so much I want to do. It allows me, the ones that are doing it, to do it. So I need to find one, which right now would be tiny homes for seniors that nobody's doing in Chattanooga.
That's fantastic. And, so many businesses, the first thing they think when they run into hard times or they're not growing, they cut back on all of that.
Yeah.
And they cut back on advertising, they cut back on giving, and it actually works against them.
Yes.
And you have taken the opposite approach, helped as many people as you can. And I'm also a fan of Zig Ziglar, and his philosophy is you can get everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want.
Absolutely.
And you really are the embodiment of that. You've helped everybody get what they want. And it comes back to you in your business.
Tenfold. Yeah.
Absolutely, tenfold. So keep those in business, you new entrepreneurs out there, keep giving.
Yeah.
And don't cut back on your marketing and advertising and branding and getting your name out there. It's
and
everything.
you can do events and market yourself when you don't have any money. That's what I did for 9 years to build the brand before I had the money. I didn't do that cool stuff when I first started. Absolutely not. I went from event to event to event and did a booth. So there's things you can do that don't take money.
It's just your time.
Takes your time.
It's your time.
Yeah.
That's right.
But when you get the money, now you're buying your time back.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. So how can we better support female entrepreneurs in our community?
That is a great question. Do research. Get on your podcast. Talk about, I share your videos. Share other people's stuff, I think sharing people, working together, supporting them is the best way. Share these podcasts,
That's a great comment, because how often do we watch a video that somebody's produced and we go, oh, that's nice, and we hit the like button and that's it.
That's it.
Share it. Help that
Yes.
business.
Yeah.
Share their content. Let's help each other grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you see a business, like my passion lately has been helping business owners that are failing, is like there's something there they weren't taught, They had an idea. You bought a franchise thinking you're going to get more support than you do. And so it when I see one, I'm like, oh, I could help that person. Kind of like the bar movie, Rescue Bar.
Yes.
Bar Rescue.
Right. Bar Rescue. I love that one.
I do too. And it's like, I want to do Rescue Chattanooga.
Rescue small business.
Yes, rescue small businesses.
And get a TV series going.
Yes, seriously. There's so much here, and people crying for help every day. When you go by a business, nobody's there, stop and help them. Just give them a little advice. There's enough for everyone. There really, really is. And like what you shared earlier, you help that business get what they want, you get what you want.
That's right.
Totally.
Absolutely.
It is a relationship world.
And eventually it makes the entire community stronger.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
strong.
That's right. If that business is successful, then they might be able to donate to your kids' Little League baseball team.
Absolutely.
And so the more small business, because they're typically the ones that are doing those things. If you look around the community, who is sponsoring the events, who is putting their name on the Little League shirts, typically it is the small businesses doing that. It's not, the major corporations are doing a large part of, but not the smaller charity work that needs to be
Little
done.
signs on the baseball field.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's important.
Yeah.
So,
Because some moms don't have that money,
And it's very expensive. I have 2 grandsons in baseball. And
get it.
I get it.
Yeah. Mine played football, basketball, and baseball every time. And then it was all-stars. And then it was in the basketball. I'm just like, could we not? So we didn't need anything of it. I still push him. I said, after brain surgery, you need to do the NBA. He's like, okay, Mom.
Okay, yeah. And go out and sell $200 worth of chocolate bars.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Remember that?
Or Medicare.
Or Medicare. Yeah, there you go. We'll sell some Medicare.
That's right.
So I'm going to ask some personal questions.
Okay.
We've talked about your legacy that you want to leave.
Yeah.
And I think you are well on your way there. You have inspired so many people. Who's inspiring you today?
You know, and everybody's going to say this because we're in Tennessee, but I love me some Dolly.
Oh, yes.
I hope she's listening. I have been trying for years for a Dolly and a Medicare Misty partnership.
Oh, wow.
I need to review her insurance for one.
That's right.
And then I could be the star Medicare agent. But really everything. So recently, 82 years old, I think she is, started a deal with Duncan Hines and now has her own cake mix. I mean, she does not stop.
And they're good, by the way. I've tried the cake mixes.
Well, I bought the anniversary and I haven't opened it. I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
I need to try it. I actually was hoping because I had a show in Ringgold, and I was hoping that she would listen because she comes to Ringgold and just come surprise visit me and sit on my stage, but she didn't. That's okay. But everything she's done and what she's went through, you know, my husband's an introvert. Her husband said, I don't want anything to do. That's very
right.
hard to climb that ladder and not have that partner, you know, beside you because it's scary out there and you need someone, you know, but it worked for them. But I love her marketing and I love the Dollywood. I mean, she took, like with me, you know, she did it on a bigger scale, of course, but she took her name and built things to make people happy, to leave a legacy. And so she's my biggest inspiration, and not just because of Tennessee, but I just love everything that she does, and she doesn't stop. She was a Dallas cowboy cheerleader.
That's right.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, it's insane.
She doesn't stop. And I think about, you know, the Imagination Library.
Oh, yeah.
And all the kids getting the books.
Yeah.
And like you, most of what she did was just to help people.
Yeah.
That wasn't necessarily going to sell more records if she had a book delivered to each newborn child in Tennessee for their first few years. You know, she did it to help literacy in our state.
Yeah.
And that's a grand goal. And I think, like you have grand goals, and they help other people that lift society.
And we get what we want, and Dolly got what she
That's right.
You know,
She got what she wants.
Yeah. But she's not done.
No, at 82, she's not done.
She's not done.
Every time I get tired, I'll think about Dolly.
Do it. And then I think about you're not done because you haven't done anything with Medicare Misty yet, Dolly.
That's right. So for our listeners, anybody out there that has a connection with Dolly, you've got to connect Medicare Misty.
And it's funny, the TV station that I had when I had the talk show, they were close. I'm like, come on. And then even James on This and That, they did an interview and she's like, you're the best person that interviewed me. I'm like, James, come on. There's a shoe in right there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what books are on your bedside table?
I do Audible.
Okay. I love Audible.
Because I drive all day long.
Yeah.
I just finished Let Them.
Oh, I bought that book and gave it to my daughter.
Don't do it. Buy it. I do an Audible. I'm telling you, I'm going to listen to it again. Because I think this is another thing that us as women stop us from doing. It's in our head, trying to figure out what he or she's thinking. And just let them. I mean, it changed me, and I of all the books I have read, that would probably be my top 10 to do it. And I think I wanted to listen to it once a year because you always miss something, kind of like the Bible.
Right.
You're like, oh, I don't remember reading that in there. But I think that should be everybody's bedside or in their Audible listen. And I bought it because, you know, you can rent them or buy them, and I bought it so that I can constantly listen to it. And now they're doing tattoos and T-shirts. I thought, I don't have
Is
a
that
tattoo,
right?
but I thought about maybe
Let Them, and that's
Let
by
Them
Mel.
and then Dolly. On
There
the
you
other
go.
side.
And that is Let Them by Mel Robbins.
Yes.
It's great.
It is great. It will change your life. And then I just did the CEO, where you can read short, like 32 books in a year. But it's a short stories. They summarize them for you, so it kind of leaves out a little stuff that you're like, hey, this really doesn't make any sense. And I'm hoping my goal to finish 32 books for 2025.
Okay.
I'll let you know how that goes.
You could probably have a section in that book yourself.
I'm actually doing that with a friend that talks about, she started a woman's book, and she's one of my agents in Vegas.
Okay.
So she's working on that as we speak. She's waiting for 20 women. She has 10 right now.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we'll look out for that one.
Okay, yay.
Yay. Well, this has really been an inspiring conversation.
It really has.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for asking me. I appreciate it. I love everything that you do, and support Lisa. Download her podcast, both of them. You will not be disappointed. And then maybe reach out to her. You might be one of those powerhouses we need in the house.
That's right. I'd love to hear from you and get you on the schedule.
Love it.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Happy
So, one more thing
Okay.
before we go. I
Uh-oh.
forgot to ask you.
Okay.
Share your contact information.
Oh, yes,
share
that's
your
important.
socials. Yes.
So MedicareMisty.com on every social. Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Medicare Misty is everything. And MedicareMisty.com has my email, which is misty@MedicareMisty.com. And then my phone number. All of that stuff is all on my website. My jingle, everything.
And you have a book.
And I have a book, on navigating the Medicare maze with Medicare Misty. And it's short, it's sweet. It's just something that some people feel anxiety when they come to me. They want to know a little bit. It's just a short read. Christmas, Mother's Day is coming up. Buy that book for your parents. It's a great read.
And we can find it on Amazon.
Amazon.com.
Okay, Amazon.com.
Yep.
All right, I'll put all of that in the show notes so it's easy for people to reference, and also put it on Facebook and Instagram.
You do so good at that. Of all the people I advertise, I love when you tag me.
Oh, I love tagging you.
Yay.
And to our listeners, please join me on the next episode of The Empowered Career Woman. I also ask, if you enjoy this podcast, share it. Share it with your friends. Hit that follow button and help us grow. The Empowered Career Woman is proudly presented by Medicare Misty, and Medicare Misty is a real person who can help answer your Medicare questions. Get real help from her team at MedicareMisty.com. The rise to the top is not always a straight line. Sometimes the bend in the road is the most challenging, yet it does lead us to where we are meant to be. If you are an aspiring business leader or entrepreneur, join us next time as we share stories of those who made it to the top. I'm Lisa, and I'll see you next time.